Hello, and thank you for joining me today. In today's clip, what I want to do is talk about the 5 reasons why international students get into academic trouble and how to avoid them. So hopefully you can stick around and watch the video, and hopefully it will help you or a friend that you may know. Hello, and thank you for joining me today. If you're joining me here today, it is for 2 reasons. It's either one, you're an international student that might be struggling a little bit and needs some guidance in staying out of academic trouble, or two, you're a potential international student and you are looking to see how you can better prepare for the future to make sure that you stay out of academic trouble. Now, as a trainer in the education and training sector in Australia for over 20 years, I've seen a lot of challenges that international students have had. So what I'm going to do is look at the 5 reasons of why international students get into academic trouble and what you can do to avoid that for the future. So let's start with the first point. Point number 1. One of the reasons why I see international students fall into academic challenges is because when they initially enroll into a college, they fail to undertake the necessary research to identify all the ins and outs of what are the requirements of that particular institution. So, for example, one of the things I find is that international students forget to find out what are the class hour commitments, like how many hours in class do you need to spend. This is important because that can affect your living arrangements, could affect your working arrangements and things like that. So it's really important to find out how many class hours are you expected to commit to. Also, when are those classes? Are they during the week? Are they during the weekend? It's really important to get that nice and clear because that can help you with other planning down the track. The other thing that also I find that international students struggle with is understanding the expected workload. So, for example, if you are attending a particular course, there may be some self-study requirements. So what that means is that when you're not in class, you're going to need to allocate some time to study, whether it be learning materials, whether it be working on your assessments, those kind of things. It's really important to understand what is the expectation of that college. So, for example, if they say, well, we expect you to study 10 hours a week as self-study or 20 hours a week of self-study. This gives you a bit of an idea of what, how you can commit your time and what you can do there in the case of, for example, work and those kind of things as well. And the last point there about the academic side of things as well is the cost. So not only do we have, for example, the cost of the school fees, but we also need to consider the cost of the school books, any stationery supplies that you may need, any special equipment that you may require, for example, tools or some uniforms. Students forget to ask about these things, and it can also become a bit of a surprise down the track when you think, oh, geez, I didn't really think about these things. So it's really important to really do your research in reference to the college that you're going to study with. And also, if you're engaging, for example, with an agent such as myself, these are the things that I would be looking for as an agent to find out what are all the exact requirements are, so there are no surprises in the future. The second point that I wanted to talk about, the second reason, is international students either have not developed a budget or the budget is not realistic enough. So what that means is that, let's say if you're in your home country looking to come to Australia, or if you're already in Australia, sometimes what happens is you can underestimate the living costs of what it costs to live in Australia. For example, accommodation, food, transportation, those kind of things. Now, I do have a link on my website that can assist you with some of these things, but what I find is that the budget may not be realistic enough. Sometimes students think that if they come to Australia, they will find a job really quickly and really easily, and that sometimes is not the case. And so when a student is creating their budget, they may be creating it under false reasons to think that, well, I only need this amount of money, and then when I come to Australia, I'm going to get a job, and then everything should be okay. That may not be the case. So when you apply for your visas, these are the reasons why the department looks at things like, or the Australian government looks at, how much money do you have, how are you going to make more money, those kind of things. So on average, I think the department works off about $20,000 a year, and that also includes covering all your school fees, accommodation, those kind of things. So please be mindful of that, so you don't get into financial hardship. So by developing a clear budget, this will determine how much money you will need to live in Australia, and it will also give you an idea of if you can maybe not have to work so many hours. Like as a student, an international student, you're entitled to work up to 20 hours per fortnight. And then when you are on term break during the school holidays, you can work a full 38 hours, but you may not need to do that if you have enough funds available to you. So it's all about the income versus expenses. So how much money are you making versus how much money are you spending, and then what it is that's left over, and what is it that you do with that money that's left over. So having a good budget can help you to work out what is the best thing for you, and how can you make sure that you survive and live in Australia comfortably when you're living and studying here. The third issue that I find with international students is the lack of goal setting. So what I mean by this is that when you come to Australia to study, you may have a certain goal that you initially wanted to pursue. For example, it could be that you want to improve a skill. It might be that you're looking to earn some money, and that's okay. Or you're potentially looking to stay in Australia permanently. And all these things are fine, and these personal goals are for you alone. But what happens is that sometimes students maybe make the mistake of picking a particular course because it might be the cheapest. But the thing is, it may not align with your overall goal for the future. So something to consider is that it's always best to think about what is your long-term goal and what is it that you're trying to achieve that's going to help you, your family, or maybe it could be just for yourself, to understand where are you going to go in the future. Because by doing that, it helps you to focus when times are tough, and it helps you to stay disciplined. So, if you forget your goal along the way to why are you studying a particular course, or why are you studying in Australia, it can actually demotivate you, and then you might, for example, give up on your course, giving up on going to class. It may depress you a little bit, those kind of things. So by knowing what your true focus is, this will help you to guide you in those tough times. So one thing I like to do is, from a goal setting point of view, is break up my goals in short, medium, and long term. So, in the next 1 to 3 months, what is it that I want to achieve? In the or 6 months, for example, in the 6 to 12 months, what is it that I want to achieve? And then from the 12 months and onwards, say the next 2 or 3 years, what is it that I want to achieve while I'm living and studying in Australia? Really important to put that on paper, because then what you can do is you can visualize that every day or every week, and it can give you that inspiration that you need to make sure that when you're a little bit tired, you'll go in and read your assessment materials, do the work that you need to do. And it helps to push you across the line to make sure that you're meeting your institute or your college requirements to complete your course in full and on time, and those kind of things as well. And the other good thing about setting these goals is it allows you to also celebrate the wins when you achieve them. Really, really important. One thing that I was bad at for many years is that I would achieve a goal and then I'd move on to the next task, and then the next task, and the next task. And this is not a really good thing to do. The best thing is to go, once you reach your first milestone or your first goal, celebrate it. Be happy. You've worked hard. Give yourself a reward. It doesn't have to be a big reward. It can be something small, but it just, by giving yourself these little rewards, that still keeps you motivated to stay on track with your studies and to achieve your bigger goal, and you work your way up until you reach that big goal that you want to achieve. So goal setting as number 3, really important. Point number 4, I find that if students have poor time management, I find that they tend to struggle and with their academic side, and then they get in trouble. So what I mean by that is that you may get other priorities that you will come across that will be competing with your academic studies. And this could be things such as you may have underestimated the amount of money that you needed to live, or or you're finding it hard to get a job and your funds are drying up. This might make it hard for you to pay your school fees. So, and therefore you might be a little bit embarrassed to go to school, to talk to the school. I always recommend that if you're in a bit of a financial hardship, always talk to your school, keep them in the loop of what's happening, and they will be more likely to help you along the way. Also, if there's an emergency at home, a personal emergency or a family emergency that you did not foresee, that might put you off in continuing to complete your studies on time and things like that. And that could detract you from completing your course and getting yourself into trouble as well. So these are the challenges that you may face. But definitely, as we spoke earlier, your course that you're undertaking, as we spoke in the goals, needs to align with your future goals. If you're doing a course for the sake of doing a course, you may decide, it's not that important to me, and that could affect your motivation in completing that course, because it's not part of the future of what it is that you want to achieve. So just be mindful of that, and because that can create poor time management as well. And also, finally, the lack of discipline. So you might be the type of person that requires a bit of motivation. You might think, oh, I'm just going to watch this next movie, or I'm just going to go out with friends, or I'm just going to go to this party because I really don't want to miss out. And you might do what we call procrastinate, which is you'll get to it eventually, you'll get to it soon, but you just keep putting it off because you want to do other things. This happens when you might have a slightly more difficult assessment that you're working on, or you might, the best thing there is always just to knuckle down and do your best to get through, whether it's half an hour or an hour per day. That really, really helps you with making sure that you're staying on top of your studies. The 5th point is that if you don't set yourself a schedule. So this ties back in with the other 4 points. You should create yourself a calendar, right? And the calendar can be like over a fortnight, a 2-week period. It could be a monthly calendar. But what you want to do there is you want to break it up into 3 sections. So one section could be for your work schedule. One section could be for your study schedule. So when you've got to go to school, when you've got to put time aside for studying. And then your third point could be for your time, your free time. So, you know, when can you go out with your friends, or when can you do your shopping, or when can you go wash your clothes or do your hair, all those different type of things. So by having some kind of a physical or a visual work schedule, this can help you to, with your time management skills from before. So making sure that you not have a lack of time management. It can help you with your budgeting. It can help you with your goal setting, all these different things. By having a simple calendar that you lay out, so you know what it is that's coming up in the next few days, in the next few weeks. It allows you to prioritize your time and your work to make sure that you stay on track with whatever it is that you're trying to achieve at that particular time. Helps you to stop from falling behind, and it allows you to enjoy life a bit more, because you don't feel that pressure on you with saying, oh geez, I need to do 12 hours today to stay on top of my studies. You may not need to do that. It may be that you may need to allocate 5 hours per day or 3 hours per day on your studies, and you may find sometimes that you don't even need that much time, and that's a bonus for you. But really important as well is, as part of your schedule, when you're allocating time, just make sure you allocate some time to yourself as well, because you need to also look after your own well-being and your own mental health. And by having all the stress of having all these schedules, give yourself some free time, some downtime, so you can relax as well. Really, really important for your own well-being and your own mental health. So hopefully those 5 points will help you to stay out of academic troubles. And I'd love to hear your feedback on this as well. But to help you along the way, what I've done is I've actually developed a student planner as a template. And all you need to do is click on the link below, enter your email details, and you will receive a copy as an email for you for free. So there is no cost there. My intent is that I want it to help you as either a current student or a future student. Whether you use myself as an agent or not, it doesn't matter. It's all about your progression. So feel free to share this video link with your friends if you feel that they could benefit out of this study planner as well. So I hope that helps, and I wish you all the best for the future. So thanks for watching.